Well, it all comes down to this. Just one more race to round out what has been an unbelievable season. 17 races, 9 different winners, and it all comes down to the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. I'm Kai Bicini. Alex Garcia is down on the ground as well, and we'll be taking you through what is going to be an outstanding, a thrilling, and an exhilarating final race to the EUROCUP-3 campaign. I can't wait to get this one underway. Qualifying 2 took place earlier on this morning, and it's some familiar faces up at the front end of the field. Andreas Cardenas will be starting from pole, and it's going to be Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. joining him alongside, and the man down on the ground that can see those drivers on the grid, and who's going to be taking it away from the grid is Alex Garcia. Alex, just one more race to go, and it feels like we're going to go again.
One more race to go, Kai, and I'm happy to talk to you again, especially because I can be an honest man and let you know that it has become a little bit cloudier, just for you to see that I am gracious in victory and defeat. It doesn't look like it's going to rain though, which is a good thing. So we should have a nice last dance for the current Tatus T318 chassis. But more than anything, I'm excited to see what happens with this last race of the season, because we can actually have a 10th winner. We have 2 new potential winners in the first row, and you know that starting from the first row, of course, it always gives you a nice advantage. So would it be Andres Cardenas? Would it be Emerson Fittipaldi? Let's find out in a little while, but those 2 are definitely going to try and leave the season with a good result.
Yeah, and you can't blame them at all. It's a last dance for the chassis and a last dance for a lot of these drivers. There is still championship places up for grab, most notably second runner-up in the championship. We've got Rinnicella, we've got Stuka, both going at it this weekend. Stuka obviously took home that race win yesterday. That's put him on good form. That's put his hopes very, very high, but not a front row start that he would have been hoping for. He'll be starting from 6th. But his championship competitor of Stuka is starting, championship competitor of Rinnicella is starting from the 2nd row in 4th position. So keep an eye on those drivers. Alex, which way do you see it going?
It's tricky to tell you right now. Of course, the differences are very, very small. If I had to make a decision, I would say that Valerio Rinnicella has done enough probably to be just the tiniest bit of beats, the tiniest margin ahead of Kasper Stuka. It is true that Kasper has been, of course, very competitive this weekend, but he would need to, reasonably speaking, be much further ahead in the race while having some trouble for Rinnicella. Is that going to happen? I find that hard to imagine, at least to the degree that it would change the result in the race or the championship. In terms of race, though, the key is really what the unusual or more unusual drivers on the grid are going to do. If, let's say, the first row drivers, that is, of course, Andres Cardenas and Emerson Fittipaldi, manage to stay ahead, I don't see things changing very much. If they don't manage to keep those first positions and they leave themselves open to the attack of these runner-up position contenders, things might be a little bit more interesting there, because the point differences in those positions are bigger, so there could be things going on in there. My expectation, though, again, just to summarize, I think Valerio Rinnicella really is the man who should be finishing the season in 2nd place. But why do we love motorsport? Because sometimes we're surprised, so that could be a thing.
Yeah. And exactly that. There is so much that could happen in this race. And starting from the front row, as you mentioned, once again, that 2nd place spot, Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., we've seen these glimpses of hope. We've seen these glimpses of pace from him. But yesterday just really struggled off the line, and to actually get himself into the flow of that race, fell a little bit further back than he would have been hoping for to finish in this one. But clearly has the pace to be up at the front end. Is it going to be a different story today?
I want to think it can be a different story today. We have to remember, of course, that these are different conditions from what we saw on Saturday, and of course on Friday as well. We've had rain during the early hours of the morning today. For those who maybe haven't watched Formula 4 Spanish Championship with us, that meant that up until maybe an hour and a half ago, the track here where I'm standing was still pretty damp. And in some places of the circuit, the track was still very cold. Now, the track is drier. I don't see this race starting with a safety car as it happened with Formula 4. But the wind is still strong, as you can see. So that's another thing that you have to keep in mind. Conditions are cooler than yesterday. So the settings that worked yesterday do not necessarily need to work today. So we need to look at that qualifying this morning to get some sense of understanding of where everyone might be. But then again, that qualifying this morning had completely different conditions to now. It was pretty damp, pretty humid, pretty tricky, pretty slippery. Now it's a bit more normal. So whoever was quick this morning may not be quick now, and the opposite is potentially true as well. So we're finding ourselves in a position that will be a little bit of a mystery until the lights are out and we see the race starting proper. If we look at yesterday, yes, Fittipaldi struggled a little bit more than expected. So I do hope that he manages to finish the year in a good way, especially remembering what he's going to do next year. He's going to be in FIA Formula 2. So as we always say, all the EUROCUP-3 alumni, we like them to do well in their next ventures. So sending them off with a smile is the least we can do.
Yeah, but let's focus on that championship battle, because that is realistically what everybody is watching for today, because there's only one more race to take home that huge haul of points that is up for offer. If we look at what could actually happen today, if we see a race win from Kasper Stuka, there is a 12-point gap. Sorry, no, there is a 14-point gap. 13-point gap. We'll go through all the numbers. 13-point gap that actually separates Rinicella and Stuka for the moment in the championship. So if we see a race win from Kasper Stuka, we need Valerio Rinicella to finish 5th or lower for that position to change for 2nd. And I don't know about you, Alex, but I can't see Rinicella finishing that low down.
No, I don't think so. And that was the thing, right? Those are two elements that need to happen. One being Kasper Stuka being that further ahead, and Valerio Rinicella being so further back. To have both at the same time, it's tricky. When these things happen, what I like to do is look at the results for the season and see how often those specific conditions have been met. And that's not exactly something that we've seen this year. So let's say mathematics says that we shouldn't see it. But then again, I'm talking about numbers, and I know motorsport has a lot to do about numbers, but fundamentally, at its core, it's all about people, it's all about these drivers, it's all about what their mechanics and their engineers have been able to draw from the track. So even though we speak a lot about numbers and statistics and speeds and all these things, we can always be surprised, and that's what I like to say. I still bet for Valerio Rinicella if I have to, but I still want to let myself be surprised if I have to be surprised. But again, and I'm insisting a lot on this, I'm excited to see this last race of the season because of course it's race of partings, right? Because it's the last race of the season, and some drivers are not going to continue here. Some drivers are going to, of course, continue, and our new chassis is going to take over from the current one. So I hope that we get a nice last race for these tattoos.
It really is an end of an era here in Spanish F4. With the new chassis coming into play next season, it will completely switch up the momentum, switch up the grid as well. But we've had so many big names, so many talented drivers with us this season as well. Matteo Carnaghi, for example, as we mentioned, he's not with us this weekend as he wrapped up the championship a little while ago now. But he's been competing in the Macau Grand Prix this weekend. A very respectable 4th place finish in the Grand Prix. So a huge congratulations from everyone here at the EUROCUP-3 team. But Matteo Carnaghi, let's just say some words on him. I think it's fair to say outstanding, untouchable, a league of his own.
Yes, exactly. We were, of course, always very happy to see our former drivers performing very well there. In a sense, Matteo Carnaghi is a former driver because he's not this weekend here, and we know that next year is going to be in FIA Formula 3. But I do have to say, Kai, that the rest of the drivers that finished ahead of Matteo Carnaghi are also former EUROCUP-3 drivers. So we were also very happy to see, for example, that fight between Niall and Mari Boya for that race win in Macau, because we knew that they had a very good time here. I know that Mario Boya in particular speaks very, very, very well of this series, where he says he learned so much. And therefore, for us, seeing them do well there makes us very proud, because these are, as I said, our alumni, and they represent EUROCUP-3 in the best possible way. So, hey, who knows? Maybe next year we have some new former EUROCUP-3 drivers dicing it out in Macau, and we would love that as well.
No, of course, there is so many drivers that have a very bright future in motorsport here, and that's exactly what EUROCUP-3 is for. It's for that breeding ground, and it's to show that, to prove the talent of these drivers as well, and help them grow into mature racing drivers and progress through the rankings as well, because it is a feeder series at the end of the day. But we've had a brilliant season. There's been so much great racing action, and Alex, you've been here for the whole season to cover it. From your perspective, it could be on track, it could be off track. I want to hear some of your favorite moments from the season.
Favorite moments? Well, I definitely have to say the on-track action in general. If I have to choose one element more than one moment, that has been one thing to mention that has been quite memorable. I think drivers have shown a huge quality. I don't like to say that the quality is higher now than it has been in the past, because it seems like it's diminishing the efforts of the previous drivers. But it does feel like every year we see more and more talent joining. And in that sense, I'm super impressed with the rookies. The rookies have been incredible this year. And of course, that's a very nice thing to see, because we like to see young drivers who are very promising. But maybe one of my favorite things, and you know that I'm very particular about this, Kai, one of my favorite things has been following from behind the scenes all that preparation for the new chassis for next year. This Dallara with the Tom's engine, which is, I think, going to blow people's minds when they see it on track next year, when they see it racing, and when they see just how exciting races can be with this car. So I look forward to that as much as I look forward to seeing the Tatus bow out in the best way. And of course, what can I say? My companions here on track, we've mentioned them in Formula 4, Dani and Elena right now in front of me, Tom, of course, from the distance, all the social media team, everyone at home. I'm just thankful and just happy to have them with me. Jake as well at the beginning of the season, you as well now, Kai. I think I'm blessed with having the best team ever. And if we talk a lot about racing teams, this is our racing team, and I think we've had a great season.
Yeah, it has. It's been an outstanding season. It's been an honor to also come in halfway through the season to join you guys on this broadcast and cover this amazing championship. But Alex, I feel like it wouldn't be a round out to a final race of the season without getting a bold prediction. I want to hear your vegetable bet for this race.
Ooh, this one is tricky. I don't dare to bet more than 1p today, because it's a risky one, and you know, when there's risk to be had, you have to be mindful of those things. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say a new winner, so a 10th winner. And why not betting on Andres Cardenas, who's starting from pole position, and I think he feels confident, he feels seems to be relaxed, and if he can have a good start and pull away, he might have a chance. So let's go with that.
Any driver could really take it here. Alex, thank you very much for your time and for your input, not just for this race, but over the course of the season. I'm sure we'll hear from you again later on this afternoon and in the races as well. But it has been such a pleasure calling all of these shots. All of the drivers just getting ready now on the grid, and team personnel will be clearing very, very shortly to mark what is going to be an extravagant final race to the EuroCup-3 Championship. And what a way to bow it out, other than the home of motorsport in Spain, at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Drivers, I'm sure, mixed emotions coming from themselves. A couple might be a little bit nervous in the likes of Valerio Rinicella and Kasper Stuka as well, but very happy, and I'm sure joyful emotions by the end of this race. Maybe a little bit of emotional from some of the people in the paddock, but the fans are out in force this weekend to watch their favourite drivers and cheer on the competition on the circuit as well. Last high fives are handed out to the drivers from their companions at their teams, and now all the team personnel will vacate the grid for the final time this season. The drivers will now be left by themselves with their own thoughts and left to prepare for this final race of the season. So we wait until all the personnel can clear the grid. Valerio Rinicella second in the championship on 203 points. Kasper Stuka third in the championship on 190. Kasper Stuka does have one extra race victory over Valerio Rinicella. He's got 2-1 in that field. However, Rinicella overall the more consistent out of the two drivers, and that's exactly what has poised himself in that runner-up spot in the championship right now. An average finishing position of 6th for Valerio Rinicella, but an average finishing position of 7th for Kasper Stuka. Engines roar, we get off the grid, and weaving is underway. You know what that means? It's formation lap time for the final race in the 2025 EUROCUP-3 campaign. Let's have a little run through our starting order. Andreas Cardenas is going to start from pole position with Emerson Fittipaldi alongside him. The second row is joined by Jesse Carrasquedo and Valerio Rinicella. Alexander Abgazava recovering from a scary incident yesterday that saw him clatter the wall out of the final corner. Luckily, walked away from that incident all right, and the team have done a great job to get that car rebuilt and ready for racing action today. He'll be starting from 5th on the road. Kasper Stuka is then in 6th from Mikhail Belov, Yanni Stephen Haynes, Jules Caranta, and Ernesto Rivera round out the top 10. 11th is going to be Maciej Gladish, then it's going to be Daniel Matia, Enzo Tarvinic was 13, 14th is Francisco Macedo, then Isaac Barashi, Kai Diriani, Garrett Berry, Lenny Reed, Ariel Elkin, and Maximilian Popov round out the top 20. Is then followed on the 11th row of the grid by Zach Skiller and Campos. Jorge Garcias and Alchu Felderman are 23rd and 24th. Ricardo Baptista is then followed by Hideg and Moreno on the final row of the grid. That is going to be your 27 competitors taking place in this 30-minute plus 1 lap race. And the field is going to be headed by that man there, Andreas Cardenas, the rookie in the bright orange MP Motorsport colours. 33 adorned on the car, but looking to take home a number 1. Let's see if we can get to double digits in different race winners this season. 9 race winners so far. Those race winners being Matteo Carnaghi, 5-time winner, Valerio Rinicella, Kasper Stuka, Ernesto Rivera, Jesse Carrasquedo, Maciej Gladish, James Agozzi, Enzo Tarvinic, and Garrett Berry are your 9 competitors that have all won a race this season. Andreas Cardenas and Emerson Fittipaldi, are looking to add their name to that list. Onto the grid we come. Cardenas has poised that car ready to dart across the inside line. Cardenas is not taking any chances here as he puts that car in the most aggressive position possible in his grid box, as he is ready to chop across the front of that 77 and not leave anything up for grabs going down into turn 1. He wants that lead secured by the braking zone. Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., though, has completely different intentions. The final cars now get themselves into their grid box. The green flag is waved. And for the final time this season, drivers put their eyes to the light. It's 5 on the gantry and it's lights out and we are racing here in Barcelona. Great start there, much better than yesterday from Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. He'll try and challenge down into turn 1, but no, he's actually going to have to go defensive as he swarmed left and right. Maybe didn't get the initial launch that we thought he had, but it's a great start from Cardenas as trying to challenge from a little bit far back was Alexander Abgazava. Stuka was trying to get involved as well as 1 car, 2 car, 3 cars are all having to go off the road and take the avoiding bollards. But it's a great start from the front end. Yellow flags are out on the circuit. Who's that dropping down a few positions? Isaac Barashi has lost a handful, and so has Kai Diriani. Everyone in the mid-pack just squabbling for position, trying to find themselves through. Oh, and that's 2 cars that are off. That looks like it's going to be Hideg and Felderman. So Hideg or Feldman, one of them kicking the barriers, but one of the drivers kicking the bucket and taking a move. That's a great move there from the number 55 of Valerio Rinicella. As Rinicella says, I am not waiting around. I'm not leaving this championship battle up for risk. He takes it into his own hands and up into second he goes. Valerio Rinicella putting his car into the best position possible. Jose Carrasquedo finds himself now up into third. Kasper Stuka obviously still challenging for second in the championship, but is third at the moment, and a safety car is deployed. So safety car out on the circuit. Oh, and there's a third retirement. That looks like Lorenzo Campos that's went off the road. So Campos in his MP Motorsport machine has pulled off on the side of the road. No indication of any contact or damage on the car, but maybe a mechanical or electrical fault. It'd be great if we could get a replay of that start and try and find out what happened to Altu Feldman and Hideg, as those two drivers coming together quite early on and both finding themselves in the gravel trap and a retirement for their final bow out of EUROCUP-3. So the safety car maintains a steady pace and makes sure that the pack are all bunched up together. And down through turn 1 now. Very slow pace from the safety car and all the drivers here. So not taking any risks. Normally we see a little bit more pace from the safety car and the drivers. There you can see the abandoned cars and drivers of Altu Feldman and Hideg, as they are just off the road. Luckily, both drivers have walked away from the incident unscathed and both all right. So that is the main thing to mention from that incident. The two rookies, unfortunately, will not end their season on the high they would have been hoping for. But either way, this is the action. This is the chaos. This is exactly what you would expect from the final round of EUROCUP-3. There is the stranded cars, but let's get a replay of this race start. Initially, from the first perspective, it looks like it's a great launch there from Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., but his second phase really let him down. It was a big lockup there from Stuka on the inside line as he nearly barrels into multiple cars alongside him. Jumping out of the car and kicking the barrier was Altu Feldman. So Feldman maybe feeling that he was not at fault for the incident. But either way, an incident is an incident, and both cars find themselves out of the race now. Lorenzo Campos also joining that field. You can see his car being recovered by the crane in the background. But around the final few, down through the mid part of the circuit now. Still leading the way. Andreas Cardenas controlled that start perfectly as we head through 9 down to 10. Still weaving left and right. Continuing the heat cycle through the tyres. Obviously, with it being reduced pace, not as much of a heavy load is being pulled through these tyres, especially through these high-speed corners, which means the tyres are doing nowhere near as much work as they normally would around a 4.6 kilometer lap. So drivers, to make up for it, will weave left and right on the straight to make sure that the temperatures are maintained and that their cars are ready for racing action whenever those safety car lights go off. What was a 30-minute race plus 1 lap is now dropped down to 25 as we go down the home straight once again. Our leader of Andreas Cardenas currently finding himself a little bit further down in the championship, of course, currently in 10th for the Peruvian. So Andreas Cardenas, so far this season, no race win to his name. He has had a podium, and that came his way in Italy. That was in the first race where he was able to take home a P2 result. Other than that, there hasn't been much fortune, unfortunately, for Andreas Cardenas with that one podium. His best finish being second as well. We're just having a look at the weather radar here, keeping an eye on the sky as well. The wind's still quite pacey as well, so the drivers will feel that as they're making their way around the circuit. So southern winds, which means headwinds for the majority of the circuit for these drivers. Under the safety car, maybe not as many problems. Track temperature has slowly risen a little bit. We now find ourselves at a 20 degrees track temperature, which is much warmer than the 16 that we saw this morning for the sister series of Spanish F4. So EUROCUP-3 treated to some better conditions, even though it is still very much grey skies above. We saw the sun peeking through the crowds a little bit earlier on, whilst the drivers were poised up in their grid positions waiting for the race to start. However, since then, the sun hasn't blessed us as much. Either way, I feel like the drivers aren't too phased about that, and are just trying to get this race underway and focus on themselves. That's exactly what Andreas Cardenas will be thinking right now. He'll be wanting this race to get underway as soon as possible, as these moments under the safety car will feel like a century for him. Going such a slow pace, he just wants to get this race done and dusted. The safety car lights are off, and that therefore gives Andreas Cardenas the belt, and he is the one who now controls the rest of the field. He controls the pace, and he decides when we go racing, or when we go to racing speed. Through 11 and 12 now. Earlier on, we've seen drivers opting for that accelerator to above 413, and we see the same here. Cardenas hits the throttle, and he brings Rinicella with him. Rinicella was not being caught off guard by that one. The MP Motorsport counterpart was right hot on his teammate's tail. As he's weaving left and right, Cardenas is trying to shake Rinicella, but Rinicella is going nowhere. Pinned to the rear bumper. On the outside he goes. Rinicella's going to think better of it. He had the opportunity to go to the outside, but decides that it's just not worth the risk this time round. Remember, the #1 unwritten rule in racing is do not crash with your teammate. And Rinicella trying to avoid that at any cost necessary. In the background, though, two of the Red Bull Junior drivers were going to and fro. That will be Jules Caranta and Ernesto Rivera. So the two Campos Racing teammates as well were going side by side through turns 5 and 6. But out in front, Andreas Cardenas still just about holding on from Rinicella up through 6-7. Let's see what Rinicella is able to do about this. 4/10 between the front two. Not feeling they need to go defensive just yet is the number 33. Down to the hairpin of 10. We've seen a multitude of overtakes so far this weekend down into turn 10. Some of them end in some very spicy battles. But if we have a look a little bit further down the pack, the Red Bull Junior drivers all getting stuck in the mix, trying to prove why they are on the RB team. That was the number 83 there, leading the head of Jules Caranta. Ernesto Rivera, his teammate on track, and Red Bull Junior teammate off track as well. Those two were going head to head off the safety car restart. Everything seems to have calmed down a little bit now. But in front, the train is still strong. In behind, we saw there Yanni Stephen Hayden's and Enzo Tarvinichko. Tarvinichko was looking for that move, but Stephen Hayden's not able to fend him off this time, as Tarvinichko seems to be let loose into the top 10 now, into a point-scoring position. Does Tarvinichko find himself? Enzo Tarvinichko, he's had some great results so far this season, and he has had some stellar displays, especially in Jerez, where we saw him take home that race victory in race 1, all off his own merit, and it was a great result. Amazing to see a new fresh face to the top step of the podium for the Thai driver. However, that one race win hasn't been his only podiums. He's had 2 other podiums to counterpart that and join it alongside. Still, the front 2 stay in the same order. Nothing too feisty between the 2 of them just yet. But Rinnicella, I'm sure, will start to get impatient ever so slightly, lap by lap, corner by corner. Rinnicella, it's pretty clear that he feels he has the pace to be in the lead right now. That is Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., the number 77. Started second on the road. Second phase off the line didn't work in his favor. And that means he dropped down a little bit further. So towards turn 1, once again, boost button is still available for all the drivers that are within 1 second of their opponents in front. Keep an eye on those 2 Red Bull Junior drivers, Jules Caranta and Ernesto Rivera, although their teammates clearly feeling that the battle is necessary. Let's get a replay of this safety car restart. Drops the hammer, does our leader of Andreas Cardenas, and reads the situation perfectly, did Ernesto Rivera, as he just tags onto his teammate's rear bumper. And they round the final bend like 2 peas in a pod. Broken away from the rest of the field a little bit there. And takes advantage of that safety car restart. Carrasquedo wasn't quite able to take advantage of that restart like Ernesto Rivera was. Carrasquedo, more than anything, was under a bit of pressure from Alexander Abgazava there. Either way, the order still just about stays the same right now. Fastest lap going the way of Andreas Cardenas for the time being. Andreas Cardenas hasn't had a fastest lap in any of the races so far this season. I'm sure he's picked up a couple momentary fastest laps so far, but by the time the checkered flag falls, not one time this season has Cardenas earned himself a fastest lap award, which is very surprising knowing the pace that this Thai driver contains. The Peruvian. Fastest lap then goes the way of Rinnicella. So commentator's curse, I'll hold my hands up to that one. I was saying that Cardenas hasn't had a fastest lap, and then straight away it's stolen away from him by his teammate. 16 minutes and 40 seconds now remaining on the clock as it is slowly ticking down. We nearly edge towards the halfway point in this race. But that battle for second in the championship is looking pretty sealed for the time being. Unless there's an incident up at the front end that includes Rinnicella, it's looking like that runner-up spot will go the way of the number 55. As Kasper Stuka just not in that competitive advantage. 5th on the road right now and not quite able to catch onto the back of Abgazava. It's going to be a tall order if he wants to get himself into a podium position by the time this race is all done and dusted. But still, the drivers now train out and start to eke out little gaps between each other. This is very familiar to see for motor racing in general. The further the race goes on, little mistakes are made corner by corner. And that's when gaps start to form. S.A. Carrasquedo in probably one of the most difficult positions here, as he is just left in tandem. He's got quite a sizable gap to Rinnicella in front of him, but he's also got quite a sizable gap back to Abgazava in behind. And I would just like to mention what a result this has been from Alexander Abgazava, not just to be competitive up at the front end, but to be racing full stop. After a big crash in the first race where we saw him catch the gravel out of the final corner in race 1, and that just slingshotted him into the pit wall on the other side. That MP Motorsport car was looking a little bit sorry for himself after that. However, all the team at MP Motorsport and all of the mechanics on that car have done a brilliant job of getting him back onto the track and in a competitive form as well. As he's 4th on the road right now, a little bit far back from the podium positions, actually starting to feel the pressure from Kasper Stuka in behind. We were just talking about Stuka, 3rd in the championship right now, trying to get himself what is going to be 2nd, but it's not looking to be possible. Ernesto Rivera, he's not far off 3rd in the championship, but Rivera completely out of position right now, down in 9th, only looking to take home 2 points from this race. if it ends the way that it is right now. So we're keeping an eye on Alexander Abgazava as he's circulating right now. That was going through turn 10. Seems to be a fan favourite and a driver favourite as well for an overtaking spot. No matter how far you are back, there is a chance for you to dive down the inside. And we've seen some brave ones this weekend, especially in the sister championship of Spanish F4, where we saw two of the drivers contending for that runner-up spot clash together and both tumble down the order and one go out the race. Rinicella pulling out of that racing line, pulling out the slipstream, just making sure that Cardenas is aware that his teammate is there. He's trying to fill up the mirrors and play mind games, force a mistake if possible on his competitor. Obviously, as a spectator, you may hear the word teammate and think that they're going to work together on track. But 9 times out of 10, once the helmet is on, once the visor goes down and the gloves are on, there is no friends out on the circuit. The word teammate is just a mere phrase for what colours are on your car. But other than that, everybody else is your enemy and everybody is your competition on the circuit. Rinicella proving that so through 9. Well controlled by the two of them. We've seen some squirmy moments from a few drivers this weekend through 9. And it's very easy to do. All you have to do is push that car just a little bit too hard. And that rear end could go skirting off into the gravel trap. And it's just so easy to spin the car after dropping a wheel off the tarmac. This is the two Red Bull Junior drivers once again. Jules Caranta and Ernesto Rivera. Those two were going side by side off the safety car restart. Other than that, things have seemed to cool down between them. Cardenas pulling off the racing line. Just trying to break the slipstream back to Rinicella. Doing everything he can. But he doesn't seem able to shake Rinicella. I'm sure Cardenas would hope this was a game of Mario Kart right now and he can chuck a banana peel behind him. But unfortunately, that equipment isn't available to the drivers here in EUROCUP-3. So as we go around right now, 33 in the lead right now. Still the fastest lap going his way. But a little bit of an error there coming through turn 3. Seems to have opened up the door to Rinicella as Rinicella is closer than he ever has been. Only 2.5 tenths is separating the two teammates. About 1 car length is between them now. And turn 10, I think I may say, seems to be the best opportunity at the moment for the number 55. So Rinicella still all over the rear end of his teammate. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when will he go for this overtake. Has the slipstream available, boost button available. Rinicella just keeping his teammate on tender hooks right now. He's not wanting to feed him too much. He's not wanting to go for a risky overtake, because do remember, he is fighting and trying to hold on to second in the championship. With Kasper Stuka being in 5th, it wouldn't be enough, even if Rinicella DNF'd from this race right now. If Kasper Stuka was to finish in 5th, it wouldn't be enough for him to take second in the championship. Kasper Stuka would have to finish 3rd, and Rinicella would have to DNF. So a lot at stake, but anything can happen. All it takes is for these two teammates to crash, and I do not wish that upon them at all, because I would love to see a great battle between Cardenas and Rinicella. But from the EUROCUP-3 season that we've seen so far, there's been so much drama and so many moments that you just wouldn't expect to happen, that you have to keep your mind completely open. Yellow flags are out on the circuit as one driver off. That looks like that's the number 6 of Zach Skeller. Oh, and that looks beached in the gravel trap. So Zach Skeller, this might be a retirement for the number 6. Oh, big. Was that an incident? No. Just seems like it may have been a broken track rod and suspension on the left-hand side of Zach Skeller's car, as under braking, his left wheel just departing from the car. Safety car is out. So safety car is out on the track, and this makes it interesting. The last safety car that we had took about 7 minutes off the race clock. Now we've only got 9 minutes remaining. If they were even to take 5 minutes off the clock, that leaves us with about 4 or 5 laps of racing action. And not just only 4 or 5 racing laps from the gaps they already have, the whole pack will be bunched up. Everybody is now given a wild card. Everybody is given a lifeline to gain their final positions. And you couldn't write this any more perfectly. This could be one of the greatest ends to a championship. Off the safety car restart, surely the tension has got to be felt by Andreas Cardenas. His heart will be pounding in his chest, as he would have been hoping to just cruise that car to the finish line. No, no, no. You're going to have to work for it, Andreas. He already has the fastest lap to his name, but he wants the race victory, and so does that man in the number 55 of Valerio Rinicella. Well, I'm sat here licking my lips, I'm rubbing my hands, because I'm very, very excited for what is to come. As the safety car tours us around the circuit, everybody will be eagerly awaiting those flashing yellow lights on the top of the safety car to de-illuminate and disappear. That there was the number 2 car just making their way around the circuit. That is Francisco Macedo, our driver, in the final point scoring position for this race. But it just seems like everything has fell a little bit quiet, and the tension is building in the atmosphere, as what was the sound of roaring engines at full speed just moments ago has now dawned down to a near silent pitch. And Rinicella, obviously the more experienced out of the two up at the front end. Rinicella competing in EUROCUP-3 last season. Cardenas fresh to the field. Can Rinicella use his experience to his advantage? And the safety car, the lights are off, and we get ready for racing. 6 minutes and 30 seconds plus 1 lap. 1 minute and 37 seconds per lap. Do the maths for yourself. But we've got a short sprint to the line, and it's anyone's game. Equal machinery, equal chance. Through turn 12, the hammer is dropped, and here we go. Great restart from Cardenas as he is able to break away from what is Valerio Rinicella. And around the final bend we go. Carrasquedo once again not getting the jump on the front 2 MP Motorsport cars, but the green light is illuminated, and you know what that means? We go racing. Alexander Abgazava, is he on the attack? No, he's not. He's on the defense straight away. Kasper Stuka, you'll get it down into turn 1. Pulls across, defends, takes the place. Into turn 1 by the braking zone. Kasper Stuka finds himself in 4th. Off the road. That looks like that was going to be Ernesto Rivera and Jules Caranta, but that was Caranta that veers off the racing line and has to take avoiding action around the bollards. But up at the front end, Kasper Stuka knows he has one last chance to have a chance at getting this runner-up spot in the championship, and he's wasting no time at all. It's been a bad restart from Alexander Abgazava, as he's now under pressure from Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. Fittipaldi going left and right, maybe a little bit too far right, as he finds himself on the grass now, hopping and jumping over the grass and kicking up dirt. That's going to lose him a load of time. So down the back straight out of turn 9, Fittipaldi recovers into 9th position, so still a point scoring total for him. But up at the front end, going a little bit defensive. Fittipaldi not wanting to lose any more ground, but Macedo is trying to take advantage of the knock-in momentum and dirty tyres that are on the number 77 car. The driver that will be facing the ruthless FIA Formula 2 field next year. Clearly shows he has the pace, but unfortunately just a little bit too eager to get past at that stage. 4 minutes across the line, half a second that separate them. Andreas Cardenas will be watching that clock like a hawk, and every second will feel like a minute in his books. Defensive goes Abgazeva again. Belov goes to the outside. The Monlau Motorsport machine is looking competitive. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. Through turn 2, he had the inside line, gets on the drive, gets on the power, and uses the curb to his advantage. The shorter run promotes him up into 5th position, and Abgazeva, his troubles don't end there. Here's Ernesto Rivera. Rivera picks up the position. And next in line, sorry, that was Jules Caranta that gets the position. Next in line is Ernesto Rivera. And Rivera squirming under braking. Not quite sure where to position his car to advantage him the most. And that just shows that Alexander Abgazeva is doing the best he can to fend off these Red Bull Junior cars, but he finds himself in a Red Bull Junior sandwich. So out of turn 9, down towards turn 10. It's close between the two teammates from both campaigns. The two MP Motorsports lead the way. 3rd and 4th is Griffincourt. That was a great restart there from Andreas Cardenas. He opened up the corner to make sure that he didn't have any steering lock on when he put the throttle down. Great maneuver there from Kasper Stuka. He got a good launch out of turn 14. Got the move done before the braking zone had even happened down into turn 1. And was even able to fend off Abgazeva. As he pulled to the middle of the circuit, the two Griffincourt teammates. It's not friendly over there. Left and right. Be careful there, Carrasquedo. You're only supposed to make one defensive maneuver, but I counted about 3. Kasper Stuka hot on his tail, and Carrasquedo is feeling the fire from behind. But let's see what Stuka is able to do. Remember, he's 3rd in the championship right now. He doesn't want to throw that out the window, as Ernesto Rivera is looking to pick up a couple of points. Yes, I will give it to you that it wouldn't be enough to promote himself up into the top 3. So, for the time being, Kasper Stuka is pretty secured for a top 3 spot in the championship. And if things are going the way they have been for the last 28 minutes, Valerio Renicella is going to beat the race to get that runner-up spot in the championship. Kolnagi was untouchable. He'll round out the season on 256 points. But Valerio Renicella can add an extra 18 to his total and finish on a nice round 221. So final couple of bends. There is the number 37 there of Kasper Stuka. 3rd in the championship, 4th on the road. In behind Carrasquedo. Carrasquedo, is he feel need to defend again? Yes, he does. Just trying to break off the slipstream from his teammate in every single effort. But all this weaving down the home straight is going to be losing them time to the two MP Motorsport cars in front. As the two MP Motorsport cars are lapping both at about 3/10 a lap quicker than the two Griffincourt teammates. I'm sure a lot of that is down to the weaving on the straight. Defensive goes Carrasquedo inside line. He pulls back across to fend off the outside braking zone and does so well. Stuka left with nowhere to go but to lean off the attack and bow out of the position. But out in front, it looks like it will be a 10th winner to add to the tally, as Andreas Cardenas has put down an absolute masterclass in the perfect way to round out his EUROCUP-3 campaign. As long as he's able to bring it home around this one more tour, I don't see it going any other way than the number 33, who has driven the perfect race. You can't help but smile and give a round of applause to the young Peruvian. Through 13, down through 14 now. Across the line, the last lap board will be a sigh of relief for Andreas Cardenas. However, for Jesse Carrasquedo, it means game on. Kasper Stuka right on his tail. Down into turn 1. Will we see it? Left and right, left and right. There's no stopping him. Outside goes Stuka. Will he commit? No, he won't. Yes, he will. Outside. And a big lock up there from Jesse Carrasquedo. Forces off his teammate. Stuka rejoins, but he'll lose a shed load of time. And that lockup on the inside line forced his teammate off the circuit. Yes, Stuka was brave to commit to that outside line of turn 1. You don't see that very often, although it did work a little bit earlier on for Ernesto Rivera. However, this time round, Kasper Stuka not able to take full advantage of the track that was available to him. Andreas Cardenas, just a few more corners to go. 5 more corners to turn his steering wheel. Through 9. And he's already weaving. I feel like Valerio Rinicella has no intentions of making the attack, as Rinicella would just not want to risk anything. He's secured the runner-up spot in the championship, which was the question that everyone was asking coming into this weekend. But through turn 13 we go now, and with just one more corner, we crown a 10th victor in the final race of the 2025 EuroCup-3 season. Andreas Cardenas wins, and look at what it means to him. A point to the sky and a fist in the air. A valiant celebration for a valiant drive. Andreas Cardenas, you are a race winner in EuroCup-3. And in his rookie season, it's 1 to add to the tally, 1 to add to the memories, and 1 to add to the ages. A brilliant, brilliant drive from lights to finish from Andreas Cardenas. He didn't have it easy with the pressure from his teammate of Valerio Rinicella. But Rinicella, I'm sure he can't help but be smiling underneath his helmet. He's just seen his teammate take home a maiden victory, and has also just secured himself on a grand total of 221 points, the runner-up spot in the 2025 EuroCup-3 Championship, with Kasper Stuka coming home 3rd in the totals. What a race, and what a way to bow out of what has been an outstanding season. So many talented drivers, and so many brilliant races. Words can't describe how much this championship means to all of these drivers on the road. And especially to the likes of Andreas Cardenas, who's beat the buzzer and taken home a race victory. There's Alexander Abgazava, who didn't have that race easy at all. Seemed to struggle off that second safety car restart, and from there on was on the back foot, instantly defending from all the cars that were attacking his rear end. However, with the parade lap now coming to a close, we will very shortly see our top 3 make their way over to Parc Ferme. And very soon, we will have a chat with a 10th winner of the season, courtesy of Alex Garcia. Just picking up the extra rubber on the tour home to help make weight. The rookie and the veteran, 1 and 2 for MP Motorsport. Andreas Cardenas and Valerio Rinicella, with Jesse Carrasquedo rounding out your podium. There is Carrasquedo, as he's already pulled into his 3rd place spot in Parc Ferme. But we watch for the 2 national colours of the Netherlands, as Andreas Cardenas will very proudly wear their flags high above their heads. As here they come now. There's Emerson Fittipaldi, but there is Alexander Abgazava. The number 24 pulling in next to Ernesto Rivera. Rivera tried his best to gain a few places where possible and possibly challenge what was Kasper Stuka for 3rd in the championship. But that man there, a race victory to add to his total. He was 10th in the championship coming into this race, but a race win will put him level with Enzo Tarvinic, but we'll know it won't. Yes, it will actually, as he'll pick up an extra 25 points. That will put him on a grand total of 95 points. Cardenas will be level for 9th in the championship. But other than that, he has rounded out the season on the perfect high. He'll reattach the steering wheel, make his way out of the car, and celebrate in style. As Andreas Cardenas will go over, embrace the team, embrace his friends, and embrace his family as well. I'm sure this party at MP Motorsport will carry on late into the night. You'd love to see the sportsmanship between the two teammates as they both embrace each other. Valerio Rinicella will be over the moon that he's managed to take home that runner-up spot in the championship. And I'm sure he's also very happy to see his teammate of Andreas Cardenas take home his maiden victory in the EUROCUP-3 championship. Cardenas very happy with that race indeed, and you can't blame him. It was a clean sweep, pole in qualifying, fastest lap in the race as well, led every lap, and most of all, took the race victory. Poised up with his number 1 board, Andreas Cardenas will very shortly get his gear off, and we will, I'm sure, hear from him with our pit lane correspondent of Alex Garcia. Pointing to the sky, all of the MP Motorsport teams, team members, all very happy with what is going on and how this season has ended. It was the perfect season for MP Motorsport. Their driver winning the Drivers' Championship, them themselves winning the Team Championship as well, and also winning the final race of the season. Let's get a few replays whilst we wait on our race winner to make his way over to Alex Garcia down in Parc Ferme. But it was a great race indeed. A couple of drivers not having the season ending that they would have been hoping for, as we ended with a grand total of 4 retirements from that race, which didn't make it easy at all on your front 2, as Andreas Cardenas had to deal with the pressure, balance himself, and keep a level head on his shoulders to try and fend off the very feisty Ernesto Rivera in second. So as the replays continue on, we do see down in Parc Ferme that Alex Garcia is now with our 10th winner of the season of Andreas Cardenas.
Andreas Cardenas, that was one way to finish the season. First win, that must mean a lot to you. But also how that happened, because you were not left alone for one single moment in the whole race.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you to my whole team. It's been a difficult season, generally that we learned a lot together, that we, superate different circumstances. But I'm really happy that now we have a recompense, as a victory. It's great for Peru, my family, for me, of course. And yeah, very happy. And how it happened, it was very stressful, all that 30 minutes having Valerio behind me. But, I'm very happy about it and, see forward to next year.
And of course, they say that you are worth as much as your last race. And your last race is a win going into 2026. Does that help in finding the plans for next year?
Yeah, for sure. That is a great confidence boost, of course. I've been, throughout the year, as I said before, we have some difficult moments, but having this is so great. I'm really happy about it, and yeah, that's it.
And final question, you've had a lot of very competitive teammates. Of course, Mattia Colnaghi, the champion for 2025, Valerio Rinicella, who's going to be the runner-up, and you're up there with them. You managed to show that you have that speed. Again, we talk about confidence, but what does this mean for your career, showing that you are up there with the best that there is to be here in EuroCup?
Yeah, no, I'm really happy, knowing that in a series that is EuroCup that has the highest level in Formula 3, let's say a regional series. It's great knowing that I can do this good, and yeah, very happy about it.
All right, Andres, time to enjoy the podium. Congratulations again, and enjoy the celebrations.
Thank you very much.
The newest race winner in EUROCUP-3. And Kai, I mentioned this to you. I wanted my 10th race winner in this season, and we've been waiting for it for quite some time, but in the end we made it. 10 different race winners. There's one thing that we cannot say about this 2025 season, and that is that it has not been very tight between the drivers. We cannot say that. It has been very closely fought, and proof of that is to see that there's been more different races, race winners than races with the winners with repeat victories. So made it unnecessarily complicated there. But we had so many race winners that I think it shows that it's one of the most closely aligned series in Europe. Great stuff. Again, another race winner. And as I look at these cars behind me, all I can think is, well, an era closes today, an era reaches the end with the first generation EUROCUP-3 machine, the Tatus T318, that reaches the end of its path with us today. So salute to this machine, but of course we're already waiting for the next one.
Alex, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cut you short there, as we need to get over to the sister championship of Spanish F4, and I would love to talk ages on what has been a brilliant season in EuroCup-3. But as Alex mentioned, it's an end of an era and an end of a season which saw triumph and drivers fall as well. So much drama and so much chaos. But what do you expect from EuroCup-3? Matteo Carnaghi walks away victorious this season, and we now go into next year with a new chassis, new drivers, and a new challenge. Make sure you tune in next year, as EuroCup-3 will be back. But goodbye for now.